You've probably seen the video of what happened earlier today to United States Senator from California, Alex Padilla, when he showed up at a press conference held in Los Angeles by DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and tried to ask a question. But just in case you haven't seen it, or maybe you'd just like to see it again, here you go.
Guys, ready? And balancing. Sir, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your hands off.
How many of our ice agents have been docked?
On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands go and put behind my back.
All right. Cool. Other hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
There's no recording allowed out here. I did not know. There's no recording allowed out here per FBI, right? So what, I'm sorry? There's no recording allowed out here.
So, that was a sitting United States Senator being dragged away and put in handcuffs for trying to ask a question of a cabinet officer of the federal government at a press conference. There's all kinds of things I could say in response to that. There's all kinds of things that other people have said in response to that that are very wise and very good and very timely. It's been very encouraging for me to see how pissed off Alex Padilla's fellow Democrats have been about this. I wish that they had all been this pissed off and even more pissed off than this all along. But I'm always glad to see it when the Democrats wake up and they go, oh shit, we should do something about this. Keep that energy up, my friends. Keep that energy up. We need it now more than ever. But I want to focus my commentary about this on one particular area of this incident, and that is the response to it from certain people who they just can't help themselves. They want to make sure that we don't blow this out of proportion and that we respond to this incident of Senator Padilla being dragged away and placed in handcuffs. They want to make sure that we respond to this incident in a way that is measured and reasonable and that takes into account the points of view of both sides. And what better person to turn to for this perspective than the Brigadier General of the Both Sides Brigade himself, but Chris Cillizza. Here's what he had to say. He tweeted this a few hours ago. Both sides were wrong in this. 1. Senator Padilla was clearly aiming to create a scene. 2. He was handled too roughly by the security there. Why can't we agree on this? Not everything is one side acting utterly benevolently while the other side acts evilly. Why can't we agree on this, Chris? I'll give you a few reasons why we can't all agree on this. Because to act as though both sides were equally in the wrong in this situation, which is what you imply by the way you wrote that tweet, is to ignore the context, is to ignore everything that's been going on leading up to this event, is to ignore the double standard that is in place, that has been put in place and has been insisted upon by Donald Trump, by his cabinet secretaries, by all of his supporters, including in the United States Senate and the United States Congress and all over the country in state legislatures and local governments, all of the Trump-supporting Republicans who have insisted on this double standard, that any mild breach of decorum from the Democrats is unacceptable and is worthy of being responded to with overwhelming force. But on the other side, on their side, they, the Republicans, can say and do whatever the fuck they want. Senator Padilla was dragged out of the room by multiple federal agents for trying to ask a question of the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security at a press conference that she was having. Now, did he speak out of turn? Sure. Was he waiting politely for her to take questions? No, he was speaking out. He was interrupting. Remember when Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert interrupted Joe Biden during one of his State of the Union speeches? Do you recall them being dragged out of the chamber in handcuffs? Did that happen? Do you remember in 2009 when Congressman Joe Walsh shouted at then President Obama, "You lie," during a speech Obama was giving to a joint session of Congress? Do you remember him being dragged out of the chamber by the authorities? Do you remember federal agents setting upon him and forcibly escorting him from the room? But that's what happened to Senator Padilla today. Double standard. We have to follow every single rule to the letter, or they will bring every ounce of their authority down upon us for that transgression. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, even said today he thinks it would be appropriate to censure Alex Padilla for what he did. The full weight of their authority comes crashing down on us for the slightest of offenses. But they can do whatever the fuck they want. And we're not even allowed to be offended by it. We're not even allowed to suggest that maybe they shouldn't have done that. So that's one reason, Chris, why we can't all agree that, well, both sides were in the wrong here. Because to do that reinforces that double standard that they have insisted upon and that serves only them and their purposes. The second reason we can't agree on what you said is that it's disingenuous and misinformed as fuck. Let's just say that your first point was right, that Senator Padilla was trying to create a scene. That's certainly what the official statement released by DHS accuses him of. Political theater, they said. He was engaging in an act of political theater. A lot of other people, a lot of Trump supporters on social media, I've noticed, they've said, oh, he was just grandstanding. Well, let's say he was. I personally don't think he was. I personally think that was just a public servant earnestly trying to speak out and do whatever he could to fight for his constituents in a terrible situation that has been inflicted upon them by this administration. But let's just say he was grandstanding. Let's just say he was there intentionally to cause a scene. What might have compelled him to do that, do you think? He's a United States Senator from the state of California. What may have been happening in California over the last week or so to have compelled him to think that maybe he needs to create a scene when the Secretary of Homeland Security is there? See, you're acting as though everybody is just morally equal in this situation. And that's what's so repugnant about both sidesism in cases like this. And that's what's so counterproductive and dangerous about it. You're treating everybody involved as though they are all morally equal, and all of their offenses are of equal weight and deserve to be judged equally harshly. Oh, sure, the Trump administration is carrying out violent law enforcement raids against people in Los Angeles who have done nothing wrong except maybe some of them crossing a border without authorization, treating immigrants like invaders, like as though all of them are criminals, all of them are a threat, instilling fear in the community, people afraid to leave their homes, people afraid to go to work, children afraid to go to school because of the ICE agents that have been deployed in these communities by President Trump and his administration. That's one side. And the other side is a United States Senator who represents the state where those people live, showing up at a press conference uninvited and speaking out of turn and trying to ask a question. Well, clearly both sides have done things wrong. Who the fuck are you trying to kid? Who is served by this bullshit narrative? Let's all calm down, okay? We've both done things we shouldn't have done. Really? Did you ever go to school and the teacher would say, especially like in elementary school, like, kindergarten, first grade, that sort of thing, and the teacher or the guidance counselor or some well-meaning person would say to you, today, I want you to say something nice about everybody. I always fucking hated that. I always fucking hated that. I hated the imposition of that. I hated being told that I had to say something nice about everybody. Even people I didn't like. Because you know what? Even when you're a little kid and you don't know shit about shit, it's still possible that you could not like someone for a completely legitimate reason. And I've even seen them ask that question in presidential debates with adults. I think they even asked it during one of the Biden-Trump debates. And I'm pretty sure they asked it during one of the Republican primary debates when it was a bunch of doofuses and then Trump up there being about to be coronated as King Doofus. And the moderator said, let's go around the room and everybody say something nice about one of your opponents. These are grown-ups and they're being treated like children, and it's demeaning to treat children that way. Because sometimes it's okay not to like somebody. Sometimes it's okay not to have something nice to say about somebody. If you're an asshole, if you're a fascist, if you support what Trump is doing in Los Angeles, not to mention the rest of the fucking country, not to mention the rest of the fucking world, if that's okay with you, if you're on board with that, if that's what you voted for and you're happy for it, then fuck you. I got nothing nice to say about you. I got no good in my heart for you. And I don't feel bad about that. And I don't feel obligated to try and dig up something good that I can say about you, to try and fish for a compliment to give you, just so I can pat myself on the back about what a fair-minded guy I am. Fuck that. To hell with that. But you know what? I bet Chris Cillizza loved that. When he would come to school and the teacher would say, today, boys and girls, I want you to think of something nice to say about everybody, whether you get along with them or not. Everybody has something special. Everybody has something nice about them, and I want you to find something nice to say about everybody. Chris Cillizza probably said, oh boy, it's my favorite day. I can say something nice about everybody. Because I respect everybody equally, and I don't take sides. I'm going to grow up one day and become a great journalist. I bet that's what you said, isn't it, Chris? But what really pisses me off is it's not just useless fucking doofuses like Chris Cillizza that are saying this. Another United States Senator, Senator John Fetterman, a man who I have taken up for in previous videos when he has been unfairly attacked by Republicans. Boy, he's kind of fallen off lately, hasn't he? He had this to say about the Alex Padilla situation earlier today. Very sad to see what happened to a friend, colleague, and a family man. It absolutely didn't need to go this way. Senator Alex Padilla deserved much better. We, collectively, must turn the temperature down and find a better way forward for our nation. We, he says. As though it's all of our responsibility equally. He does at least have the class and the decency to spend most of that post expressing sympathy and solidarity with Senator Padilla, but he has to fuck it up with that last line, doesn't he? It's all of our responsibility to turn down the temperature, not to condemn what was done to Senator Padilla today, not to condemn what precipitated Senator Padilla feeling as though he had to go to that conference the way he did today. No, we all have to bring down the temperature. In fact, somebody reposted that. I think it was W. Kamau Bell. In fact, I'm sure it was W. Kamau Bell. He reposted that from Senator Fetterman, and he said, hey, who turned up the temperature? Who was responsible for turning up the temperature in the first place? Do you remember who that was? Can you tell me who it was? As though it just got hotter. As though the political temperature just got hotter for no particular reason. We were all kind of not paying attention and it just happened and oopsie. And now it's all our responsibility to turn it down again. It's not more one side's responsibility than the other. That wouldn't be bipartisan. It's not bipartisan to place blame on one side if it just so happens that one side is entirely to blame for the problem. The DHS released its own statement about what happened to Senator Padilla today, and it is perhaps the best example of all as to why calls for both sidesism and measured responses from the likes of Chris Cillizza and Senator Fetterman are bullshit. This is from the official Homeland Security Twitter account. Senator Padilla chose disrespectful political theater and interrupted a live press conference without identifying himself or having his Senate security pin on as he lunged towards Secretary Noem. Mr. Padilla was told repeatedly to back away and did not comply with officers' repeated commands. Secret Service thought he was an attacker and officers acted appropriately. No, they didn't. And no, they didn't. And I showed you the video. You can judge for yourself whether that is an accurate description of what happened. Did you see him lunge? I saw him maybe resisting the officers that were trying to push him out of the room. I saw him trying to hold his ground as they were trying to force him out. But I did not see him lunge. And literally one of the first things, in fact, I believe it is the first thing he says in that video, "I'm Senator Alex Padilla." And I don't know, yeah, he didn't have his Senate badge on or whatever. Maybe federal officials, maybe federal law enforcement officers should know what senators look like. There's not that many of them. Maybe somebody in that room should know what senators look like. Hey, I bet Kristi Noem knew that it was Senator Alex Padilla. She didn't speak up, now did she? She didn't call off her goons, did she? She didn't say, "Oh no, that's Senator Padilla, it's okay. It's a little irregular, Senator, but go ahead, ask your question." She didn't say shit. She kept going on and trying to continue her statement. Because that was the whole point of ushering him out so forcefully like that. To shut him up. Because he was interrupting her political theater. They dare to accuse him of political theater. This is, again, this both sides horseshit. Oh, Senator Padilla, he was trying to make a scene. Ignoring the fact that the whole reason why Secretary Noem was there in the first place was to make a scene herself. Was to engage and indulge in her own form of political theater. Chris Cillizza doesn't call her out for that. He doesn't call bullshit on that. He accuses Senator Padilla of doing that. And serves that double standard. That double standard that really only serves to strengthen Trump and authoritarianism and fascism. That's what both sides is, and that's what this kind of blind, oblivious, non-judgmental bipartisanship, that's what that serves right now. Fascism. The people who have done nothing since they got to town but take sledgehammers to democracy and the Constitution and civil rights and all of the other institutions upon which our nation as we have known it depends. But let's not call them out if we're not also going to find something that we can call the Democrats out for, because otherwise it wouldn't be fair. We need to be fair to both sides. I'm going to let Senator Padilla close this out. I'll have a little bit more to say after this, but here's what Senator Padilla himself had to say briefly after this incident at the DHS press conference.
If this is how the Department of Homeland Security responds to a senator with a question, you can only imagine what they're doing to farm workers, to cooks, to day laborers, out in the Los Angeles community and throughout California and throughout the country. We will hold this administration accountable.
If that's how they treat a United States senator trying to ask a question, imagine how they treat farm workers and cooks and day laborers. And that's really the point. And it speaks to not only how morally repugnant the both sidesism of people like Chris Cillizza and Senator Fetterman is, but also to how foolish it is. Do you really think that your both sidesism will protect you if people like Donald Trump and Kristi Noem and all of the people who support them get what they want? If they are able to grab the kind of power that they are seeking, the kind of power that will not be so easy to take away from them, the kind of power that they will not ever want to give back, that they will never relinquish except by force? You think if they ever get that kind of power in this country, that the fact that you said, let's be fair to both sides, when they were carrying out their fascist strategies, that's going to protect you? That they're going to spare you? That they're going to say, oh, no, no, no. Don't do anything to Chris Cillizza. He tried to be fair to both sides. And we as fascists really respect that. It will gain you nothing. These people don't respect you. They don't respect your so-called commitment to the truth because they have no such commitment themselves. That line of bullshit in that DHS press release that I quoted from earlier about how Senator Padilla charged Secretary Noem and the Secret Service thought he was an attacker and they acted appropriately. Who are they trying to kid with that? They know that's not going to wash with anybody outside of their cult. They know that those of us who aren't already in the tank for Trump and his whole deal are going to recognize that for what it is as soon as they say it, but they don't care because they expect that they'll be able to get away with it. They expect that, A, a lot of people aren't even going to try to stop them, and B, a lot of the people who will try to stop them aren't going to be able to. And if they ever get to that point where they have the kind of power that they want to have, saying, hey, come on, let's try to admit that everybody has acted inappropriately here, every time they do something fucking terrible, is not going to protect you, Chris. Trying to frame this as a problem that affects all of us, and we're all responsible for raising the temperature of political discourse in this country too high. Framing it like that is not going to protect you, Senator Fetterman. It's not going to help you. You're not going to gain anything. But if you keep it up, you might lose all of us a country.